This is for the first time ever. We were discussing off air that this has never been done before, where we've had the four of you being interviewed as the founders of probably the most well-known choir in the history of UK gospel, formerly known as the London Community Gospel Choir. The four members are Bishop John Francis, good day, sir.
Hi.
Bishop Delroy Powell, good day to you.
Good day to you, Grant.
The Reverend Bazil Mead, MBE, good day to you, sir.
Good day to you too.
The one and only Lawrence Johnson, good day to you, sir.
Yes, my brother, nice to be here.
Okay, so Bishop John, thank you so much for your time. I'll thank all of you. You are all busy people, and that's probably the prime reason why this has never been done before. But through the grace of God and the favour on my life, I've got all four of you together. So, when was the choir formed officially? You guys can decide who's going to kick us off with some history. But yeah, there has to be a beginning. And how did you all come together? Who wants to give the answer to that one?
Well, I think officially we started in 1982. That's the official start. But there was a lead up to that, as you'll hear from maybe the various pioneers on the show. I can tell you from my experience what was happening in, I guess not just in my church, but in our respective churches. I was in charge of the New Testament Assembly Crusade Choir, as it was called. It was an interesting time because if I remember back in those times, there was an interesting dynamics going on in church where young people were leaving church. On the one hand, there was like I think it was called an exodus. They were reaching to their late teens or mid-teens, late teens, and they were leaving church. But at the same time, a sizable equal number of young people were not leaving church but staying in church and were getting involved in the music part of the church. I remember that dynamic playing out in my own church.
Yes.
Where is that resonating with you, Lawrence? While some were leaving, some of us were actually staying, and those who were staying were those of us who were employed around the music ministry of the church. And we had a choir in our church, a very dynamic choir called the Crusade Choir, which at the time I was the choir, if you like, the manager. I wasn't the choir director, but I was managing the Crusade Choir for the NTA. Lawrence and John had their respective choirs at First and later Rain at Point Revival Church. And I do remember conversations that I and Lawrence were having around about maybe the early 80s, prior to the formal official launch, around the idea of us doing things together. And I sensed that similar conversation was happening between Lawrence and John. You can maybe confirm that in a minute. And so really the choir came out of conversations that we were having, not necessarily all four of us, but between myself and Lawrence and between John and Basil. That's my little kind of kickoff point.
So church really did draw all of you together and played a big part in, seeing what was happening with the youngsters in the church, wanting to stay and, get involved musically. Yeah.
I think
Bishop John, tell us your involvement.
Okay, so my recollection is slightly different from Bishop Powell's. I used to obviously came back from America, was kind of inspired by a guy named Douglas Miller. After going to the church we were connected to was called Firstborn Church of the Living God. And so I came back and I started my own choir, which was the Inspirational Choir. And then I asked my father, could I have a sort of a gospel week? And I had a gospel week. my father's church, and got an opportunity to invite different choirs: Bishop Delroy's choir, Crusade choir, Church of God in Christ choir, and I was kind of blessed to kind of have a relationship because with the Latter Rain Outpouring Revival Choir. That's Basil and Lawrence's church.
Yeah.
Basil was one of the ministers there, and I asked Reverend Paris, which was his pastor at the time, Reverend Doctor O.V. Paris, could we have the Latter Rain? Those days, Latter Rain wouldn't go; they weren't allowed to go anywhere. Reverend Paris would keep that choir only in her church, and I think I was able to be the first person to get them to come out, and they sang at the event which we was having every year. And after that, it was so good. I said, the next year, can we like put together a combined choir? Had a conversation with Basil. He can't remember it. It was so long ago, but we had that conversation. And then afterwards, what we did was all those who was taking part, we joined sort of called a mass choir. I remember that time Bishop Delroy's church had a convention on, and Kojic had a convention on, so they couldn't take part. So it was basically my choir, Latter Rain choir, and People's Christian Fellowship choir. There's David Downs, because he was a person who went to my school, so I invited
Yes.
him as one of the guest choirs. And if I remember, Kevin Beaver was also the person that was representing Crusade Choir, and we had formed the mass choir, and then it was such an incredible event that night, and then we started having a conversation about doing this again, and there was a meeting held without me. Which is cool, and that was kind of the formation, the idea of the London Community Gospel Choir that came to being. I'm sure Basil and Lawrence would probably add more to that.
Come on then, Baz, get in there.
No, Lawrence was jumping in before. Come forward, Lawrence. I'll be
All right
last.
then, Lawrence.
Bring up the rear.
I was going to say, I think fundamentally, I think Delroy and John, they're kind of very much on the history thing. I don't remember very much, to be honest, because obviously Basil was my leader, so my role was different. My role was just really so much conduct the choir, where with John and Delroy, they were the leaders of the choir. But one of the things I did remember definitely was seeing John come to our church and minister at our church at a young age. I'd never seen anything like this, and I remember my mum and dad used to say to me, "Why can't you be like Brother John?" Just come down there, jump on, just sing and play, and the older people loved him, and we just get caught all the time. I'd be at the back, maybe talking to the girls or doing all the wrong things, and he's at the front with the mothers. They loved him to pieces, and it's just always consistent. You see that guy? He's gonna go far. And I was like, yeah, so what? There was a lot of resentment in those early days, but it was always great. And I remember, obviously, I probably had a more conversation with Delroy. We just talked about choirs, but I just felt that John and Basil, that's on a different league. I was, so many years. I mean, my dad still said it to me the other day. He said to me, "Did I tell you that John was going to go fast?" I said, "Yes, you told me."
Yes. Fond memories. Basil, how did the name come about? LCGC, London Community Gospel Choir. What's the story behind that?
Do you know? I'm trying to remember exactly. Well, I think Delroy had something to do with that.
Really?
But might have been but one who kind of suggested the whole church community thing, and folded the various the structures of the churches coming together to represent a community. So we are of London. It's a community. It's a choir, of course, it's gospel choir. I think the London and the community element is what really cemented the look of the choir, and made the statement that made the public take notice, as well as the church notice what was going on here. And for me, what really locked the whole project, if you want to call it that, together was that boat trip that we made to that cruise to Gothenburg, I think it was, because that was when the people like the apostolic churches were kind of invited to be part of this movement that John has described, that
Yeah.
Delroy and Lawrence have described, and that was such a huge event happening for apostolics and Trinitarians to come together and to minister as one people was an amazing things back in those days. So that for me is when a lot of, I mean, John did describe the activities of the choirs, our choirs back then, and I reflect on those days because nothing like that has happened for many, many years. It was such a vibrant community. There were choirs in NTA, the inspirational choirs. There was the what do you call Kojic choirs. I mean, and there were so many others around London. They were all active in church
I
and
would
in
imagine. I mean,
events.
there must have been quite a lot of choirs, but to my recollection, you guys were one of the first what you now know as community
Mm,
choirs, where
mm,
you
mm,
pull on the idea of drawing people from the community into your
yeah,
choirs.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that is what that is what the LCGC, the name, and it. I think people gravitated it was like a magnet. It drew people because I think immediately they sort of after the debut concert, I've jumped along a bit. After the debut concert, people really got wind or got the feeling that something really different to singing in church on Sundays only and
most
in
definitely.
conventions.
Most
Yeah.
definitely. Now, over the years, gentlemen, there have been many people that have come and passed through London Community Gospel Choirs. Many musicians, many of them quite famous musicians, drummers, lead guitarists, bassists, etc. Um, can we name a few names that you guys can just throw out there for us? Some people that a lot of people would have heard of.
Yeah. David Charles, Ronnie Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
Levine Hudson. It's an
My
early
goodness.
days.
My
Shirley
goodness.
Fenton,
Yeah, Bobby Clark, um,
Bobby Clark,
Delroy Powell, um,
Paul
great
Powell.
musician. Paul Powell, sorry.
Paul.
Paul
Paul
Powell.
Powell.
Uh-huh.
Bobby.
Any members from your church, Bishop John, that were
Yeah,
involved?
there was Sarah Brown, uh, Hal
Hilda.
Francis, my cousin, and Maxine,
Mm.
my cousin. Our whole family got involved. Everybody got involved. Peter Francis. Um, there was quite a lot of great. Some of the trumpets design started to sing at
Wow.
one point. Dawn,
Right.
Pauline, and uh, Crossfields. Yeah, and yeah, it was one of the. Remember, it was a community choir, and so a lot of people gravitated towards the choir because it was an opportunity to sing on another professional level. Because you got to remember, a lot of people had choirs and groups in different churches, but here was a choir that had started where people were literally doing things outside the church forum. And so when we had to sing, the level of singing had to be on a level of great professionalism. And so, yeah, people gravitated towards it. It was an opportunity for musicians and singers to perfect their skills.
And I was
I think
just
that's an
thinking
important point that you made, John.
yeah,
Yeah.
We talked about the official start and some of the activities that happened before the official start. And one of the activities was where I had an invitation to do a television program. I remember having this conversation with Lawrence. And long story short, we brought the best of our two choirs together. We were going on TV. That was a rare thing in those days. And we so wanted to put forward our very best. So we brought the best of our choir members together and formed this choir for TV. And I think that was a standard bearer. We were setting a standard by doing that. I think LCGC has been a choir of standard. They really did raise the bar in
Most
terms of
definitely.
discipline on the stage and off the stage in terms of how the choir was choraled. So that was important for us because, as John was saying, we were exposed to what was happening across the Atlantic in America. We saw excellence. We saw churches, choirs singing in churches, and saw the value that brought to worship services, and wanted to see something like that. Not necessarily do what the Americans were doing, but we wanted to emulate that kind of level of professionalism and excellence
Yes, most
in
definitely.
our worship service.
Yeah.
So
I'm so glad you brought
yeah,
that up, Bishop Delroy, because over the years, LCGC has been known for a standard, a high quality standard, to the point where I'm sure Basil can tell us lots of stories of how you guys have been chosen for various TV programs of late. I mean, the list is endless, but you guys, we're at the time of year right now where we're fast approaching December, where you've got all of these programs that are on TV at the moment, and I'm sure you guys get called on to sing background to whoever's in the semi-finals or finals. Is that right, Basil? Can you remember situations like that?
I think the most really outstanding thing for us was doing the rock gospel show.
Right.
You're probably too young to remember that, Grantley.
Yeah, I'm just a slip of a lad.
Okay, so what was happening there? I think the producer, I still remember him, Jim Murray, his name was.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think they wanted to try and have a different choir on the show whenever they wanted a choir, but I think it wasn't working. Having tried one or two choirs, because I don't think the choirs appreciated the fact they were in the studio, TV studio, and
Yes.
every second meant, every minute meant thousands of pounds. So at times they were getting carried away, like they were in church, getting in the spirit, and taking time to move from what they did to the other thing. And he got in touch and said, "Well, look, Basil, this is what we're looking for from a gospel choir. We don't have time for the other stuff that happens in church. We just need to come as professionals as they can be, sing the songs whenever we want them to sing, and that's it." And that was how we got our first invitation. I told him, well, LCGC are well drilled rather. They can come in and be professional. And we got the first appointment, and after that, we became the fixed choir for the remaining series. I think we did about 3 series of our gospel shows.
And since then, you've gone on to do programs like, have you done X Factor before?
This year was the first. No, this is not X Factor. We didn't do X Factor. I put a couple of groups, a boy band and a girl band,
Yeah,
into X Factor, but
X
not
Factor.
LCGC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but not LCGC. But what
not
have you
yeah.
done recently?
That was Britain's Got Talent. We did that,
Britain's Got
and
Talent. Thank you.
yeah,
How did
yeah.
you guys get on with that? You did quite well, didn't you?
You know what? They've been trying to get us on that show for about 3 or 4 years, but I kept on saying no. It's not what we what we aspire to do, because it's a show for amateur people. But after COVID, um, they came back, and I rethought my attitude, my changed my mind about it, because I thought, well, we've been quiet for nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
We need profiling. We need people to know that we've survived. We're still
You
here.
need to get out there. You need to get out there.
Absolutely.
Most
And
definitely.
so I suggested to them, well, we will come on the show, but we need to be respected and treated in a particular way. So we told them what we looked for, what we wanted, and they actually went. They did a lot of things that wouldn't have done for other artists, and I think they were pleasantly appreciating the fact that we knew what we wanted. We were not
Right.
depending on them to tell us. We knew what we wanted, so we told them how we wanted to be presented. And yeah,
Excellent.
I'm very happy we did it.
And that's the kind of respect that LCGC can command at this level. I remember sitting next to Yvonne White in a seminar, and Yvonne, I remember a question was asked: why is it that LCGC always manages to get all the gigs? And Yvonne, she stood up and she said, well, whenever radio presenters or anyone else asks for any material, they get it the same day.
Mm.
And I can bear witness to that firsthand, because I remember over the years I've interviewed you tons of times, Basil. And whenever I ask for anything, that day, press release, promos of pictures and music, that day. The standard is incredibly high. We just spoke about TV and stuff like that. I know, Lawrence, you're highly involved. I remember you guys went off and did this this group called New Colors, right?
Yeah.
Tell us the members of New Colors, because there's some really good names in there.
Yeah, I'll just touch on it a bit. It's just Priscilla Campbell, Faye Simpson, Nain Gray. There's Pat Scotts and Carol Riley initially, but basically the key was that we came from out of LCGC, so the training was really
There you
good to
go.
have things. So the link was very much there, but we just wanted to do something a little different. So the source has been, and that's one of the things that's been very unique about all what we do. You know, it's the same with even though John was always doing stuff, inspirational choir. And that's
Yes.
why this whole event about Take Me Back is not just, I mean, I know it's around LCGC, but it's taking us back to our history. When you look at that, you know, them guys went on to have a massive hit with the song. So there's always been that collaboration of stuff. And I'm even thinking about stuff like shows now. We talked about rock gospel, but we even then went on to do the show, to me, which gave us some sort of recognition, was People Get Ready, which John and the choirs, and then they had all the choirs were on there, LCGC and AVC and Marybelle Choir. So this was part of the source, but I also believe it was an important factor that God was bringing us to this place. And so we all went off in different variations, but we all ended up coming back to the source, which was what was God. And that was really important.
People Get Ready. Let me see if my memory serves me right. The producer of that, Bishop John, did your brother Roy have anything to do with that?
Yeah, it started first with Francis Tulloch, and who was the producer, and then my brother Roy came on, and no, in fact, sorry, the producer was oh gosh, his name's got on my mind.
It was a long time
The
ago, Bishop.
premises
Yes.
guy, who managed Nicky,
Mr. Broughton. Mr.
Viv
Broughton?
Broughton.
Viv.
Yeah, Viv
Yes.
Broughton came on, and then Roy came on afterwards. Yeah, as he was managing my choir, and the people I got interviewed, and they kind of were drawn towards me as being one of the co-presenters of the People Get Ready show back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Fond memories. Fond memories. Okay, so look, we've come full circle. You guys are about to put on this fantastic concert, Take Me Back. It's on the 12th of November. And also you're going to put on a workshop as well. Who wants to talk about the workshop that's going to happen?
I think we all.
I think that's Lawrence's
gonna
baby, isn't it? Or Bishop John will be leading it.
Ah!
Oh, really? Don't believe him. We're going to be all doing this together. Reverend Bazil Mead, Lawrence, and Nicholas Brown, and myself. And so it's going to be great, because we're actually pulling out some of the songs we did at the early stage of the choir, the beginning.
Yes.
And also going to just be one of the things we've recognized. I was doing something just the other day at a concert, and there's a lot of singers now, and with great voice, but in terms of knowing how to control their voice, knowing the principles of singing,
Yes.
I find that this generation has not had that. and I think it's going to be really, really good. I was doing some stuff with my personal praise and worship team, and they were like, "Wow!" And I said, "They were like, oh, I didn't know," because they see me as just bishop. And I said to them, "Well, come to the masterclass,
The
and you'll see another
masterclass.
side of your bishop, because this
Yeah.
is my real ministry, singing."
Bishop, I've heard you sing on many of occasions when I visit Ruach, and yeah, blow me away every single time. Every single time.
Well, it's good
You've recorded quite a lot as
and
well.
get people to sing.
You've recorded quite a lot as well. You've recorded some albums that I've managed to get hold of, both yourself and the choir. But yeah, experience has no bounds when it comes to this masterclass that happened on the 12th of November. It's at 12:30 through until 3 o'clock. Doors open at 12, and yeah, joining Bishop John Francis will be Nicky Brown, Howard Francis, Lawrence Johnson. You're in good company. And the topics, as Bishop has said, some of them preparation, warm up exercises in a fun way, which is important, right?
Yeah.
In a fun way. Brief history of
Well,
UK
well, let's
gospel.
just be honest. All of us have different personalities here. So,
Yes.
but what happens? We promise that they will get the results, and I think it's an opportunity, and I really want people to come out. Those who can sing will benefit, and those who desire to sing, they
I
will
like the
also
way you
benefit.
phrase that.
Yeah, one of the things we used to do back in the days, we knew how to get people to sing who couldn't sing, and
Mm, mhm.
nowadays, people don't have that kind of gifting anymore. I remember one of the things we used to do is find a lead song for a particular voice, rather than just getting someone to sing a lead song. We try to find out, what does your voice sound like, and find a song that will bring out the best of your voice. So all things like that, we want to actually teach people as well about it. How do you choose a vocalist? What kind of vocalist is good for that particular song? So
Yes.
we invite praise and worship singers and everyone out there. Don't feel to yourself, oh, it's only a choir thing. They will. I mean, Basil. Okay, just remember, Basil was, in my eyes, we call him the king of gospel. He was been doing this from I was a child. When I used to go Latter Rain, let me just let it be clear: Latter Rain Outpouring Revival Choir was the greatest choir
What's the
for
yeah.
me growing
In
up.
the UK.
Yes, and Basil was there on the organ. Lawrence was doing the children's choir,
Mm.
and
Okay.
guys who was doing the main choir was Carl
Do
Booth.
you remember that, Lawrence?
Carl
No,
Booth. See, I used to go to this church. 100%. I was planning to leave
He
my
was
country
always
again,
there, John. They were
and
at
I
conventions
was
and church down in Hoxton.
at Oxford Street, the town hall, every
Uh,
Evering Road. So I was like, always gravitating to that gifting that Basil had. And so what happens is, of course, he's been ahead of it. And myself, I learned under uh, uh, I came under Douglas Miller style of American type uh,
mhm.
uh, choir directing, and I sat under him, learned. I mean, literally, when we used to go to America, we had choir rehearsals every night after church. That was the norm, and you went through all of that, and we did rehearsals, and then we did the live recording on the Saturday, for our church, and I had to learn how to learn. We had to learn like 10 songs in one night. It was
Wow.
amazing in the venue. So again, those were little skills that we learned. So you're talking about, and then you got Nikki, who's again came under sort of the Amos Clark style, which is kind of similar a little bit to the Douglas Miller style of
Yes.
learning stuff. And what was so good, we had sort of the rawness, and between Basil and Lawrence, they had the sort of the perfection kind of thing, everything, getting it really perfect. So yeah, I believe everybody's going to enjoy and be empowered. So please, everyone, spread the word, get your tickets to the masterclass, and also enjoy the concert. The concert's going to be great because bringing back what was into now.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So the 12th of November is a very special day. Do put it in your diary. You'll be learning new songs, you'll be learning songs, and you'll be able to sing with the pioneers. You'll be learning songs throughout the day, gospel performances, techniques, question and answer panel, tips, advice. What more could you want? Get your tickets nice and early. The masterclass is £28. Masterclass only, sorry, is £15 for the concert and everything else. Just a mere £28, and you can get your tickets. We will leave all the information for you. Not unless one of you knows where you can get the tickets and you want to blurt that out now. Where can they get the
Yes,
tickets from?
there are two places you
Eventbrite?
can get tickets. Sorry, Lee. There are two ways you can get your tickets on Eventbrite,
Yes.
but also you can go to the LCGC Pioneers Club website, www.lcgc Pioneers website. So Eventbrite, Take Me Back concert, that's one. And secondly, LCGC Pioneers Club.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being our guest today. We have made history. This is the first time that I've managed to catch all four of you together. I really do appreciate you. The history of LCGC is vast. We've just touched the tip of the iceberg. 40 years is nothing
Mm.
to be sniffed at. 40 years. There's a lot of choirs that have come and gone since those 40 years, but you guys have still held it together. What would you say, Basil, before we head out the door? What would you say is the main reason why LCGC, London Community Gospel Choir, is still around to this day? What would be the main reason?
I think I'm not bigging up my chest here. I think God gave me this opportunity to be my life's purpose, and I think when I realized that this was going to be my life, there were many occasions when I could have packed up. It was tough, very
Yeah,
difficult, but I just kept on coming back to it. I walked out on a job that I was self-employed at, earning good money. I walked out on that job to give my time totally to what I felt God has given me as my life's purpose. And I think it's about purpose. We all need to have uh, that clarity and know that whatever you're doing, in my case, it is promoting the love of God through this amazing style of music. That dropped into my spirit heavily. Leaving school without knowing what I wanted to do, running away from England to go to Germany, trying to find a life there. The stories are incredible. Uh, and I came back to England because I had no money in my pocket. I was sleeping on roads sleeping on the floor in Germany, in Mannheim, in the city. I couldn't speak the language, and I had enough sense to say, "Oh my God, I better get back to England." I used the remaining bits of my money that I had in my pocket, bought a train
yeah,
ticket, and rode the train all the way back to the coast and got the ferry across to England. It was then I rang Reverend Paris, and she invited me to her home and said, "You can stay there, stay here until you decide what you want to do." I had no intention of staying there for good, but that woman took me under her wings, and my life changed because she showed me what purpose is
yeah,
uh, in God's will. And she prayed, she spoiled me, she taught me English, taught me to read properly, to write. Yeah, she put her life into me basically and showed me what God's purpose is. And that's why I'm still here with the London Community Gospel Choir. I have nowhere to go, no place to go. And the legacy is very important for me because I think I would have failed if the legacy doesn't continue what we have started. Me and these amazing gentlemen on this call, the legacy must continue.
It
by
has
God's
to.
grace.
It
It
has
will.
to. It has
Yeah.
to. So thank you so much, Basil. I hope I get the opportunity, guys, to do this again at some point. Maybe in 10 years' time, maybe in 20, by the grace of God. I'm
Zimmer
sure there's
frame
going to
time
be
for me,
more
buddy.
stories to
Philip.
tell. If God tarries. So let me just say thank you so much to Bishop John Francis. Thank you so much, sir.
Bless you. Thank you
Most
for having
appreciated of
us.
your time. Bishop Delroy Powell, God bless you, sir. Thank
Pleasure.
you. And Lawrence, thank you so much. Lawrence Johnson, thank you so much for helping me to arrange this. I really do appreciate you. Basil, thank you so much. Guys, thank you. Remember that you can get your tickets, and you should get your tickets today. You should get your tickets as quickly as possible, because I believe this event is going to be sold out. The 12th of November, the place to be is in that masterclass for Take Us Back. This is a masterclass, and you will never find the high quality of people leading the class, joined with Bishop John Francis, Nicky Brown, Howard Francis, and Lawrence Johnson for the masterclass that is on the 12th of November. Get your tickets nice and early. So for myself, Lee Grant, also known as Grant Lee, thank you for your company today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Remember that you can subscribe and follow and do all of the great stuff like you usually do. Take care now.